Forever United TV. Saturday is here. Football is back. The Premier League in full swing today. We have got you covered completely throughout the weekend. Jam-packed here on FUTV and Football Talks. More on that in a bit. But your headlines and why you're tuning in this morning, first of all. Going through all the news in the full build-up to the Manchester derby tomorrow. I'm going to question the position of Joshua Zirkzee this morning. There are reports floating around about the future of the forward at Manchester United. What Fabrizio Romano said yesterday regarding the future the future of certain players at Manchester United and certain players that could come in that could affect the future of Joshua Zirkzee as well. And I've got a question for you. We have got a special show later on ahead of the Manchester derby, but would you start Joshua Zirkzee ahead of Benjamin Sesko? Is there a shout for that today in terms of that play on something different and already knowing what's necessary and what's needed from Ruben Amorim's sides? Just get into the comment section and let me know on that one. Is there a shout for that? We'll get into details of it, but I want to run through the stories and everything else first of all. Manchester United dipping into the African young talent market again in terms of the football quality as a centre-back has now jumped onto the scene as well. And again, we're just now looking at the future of this football club and the amount of games that Manchester United have got. This story popped up yet again late last night. More and more talk, and it's starting to get serious. Manchester United actually having several friendlies in between Premier League weeks. We had a good old debate about this yesterday, but I've just seen more and more reports come out now, and it's all about Manchester United trying to find time for certain players we know are not going to get game time if it's just Premier League football. And this is where Joshua Zirkzee actually comes in to the fold for Manchester United. When you look at the amount of games we've got, and I keep going on about this and people keep saying they'll get their chance, it's a long season ahead. It really isn't. You're looking literally right now at Premier League games all the way through to Christmas, and then you might do all right in the FA Cup. But there is nothing in between any of these Premier League games and no time to really test out any players, test out anybody on the fringes, test out players coming back from injury. Another option up front who could be Joshua Zirkzee. Now, this for Manchester United comes about from where Fabrizio Romano was talking yesterday and talking about what Manchester United's plans are for the future. Obviously, he talked about Lisandro Martinez, new contract extension. We spoke about that last night. What Manchester United are going to do in the transfer window coming up in January. They want to buy 2 midfielders, one in January, perhaps another one in the summer transfer market. Casemiro, his future, all of that. But apparently there is another story floating around as well, and it's come off the back of what Romano said, and Team Talk have run with it as well this morning, and I've seen it in a couple of other areas. Manchester United are looking for the midfielders, they're looking for the centre-back, more on that in a minute actually, and they're looking for another forward to compete alongside Benjamin Sesko. Have we not got one already there in Joshua Zirkzee? Because where does Joshua Zirkzee play apart from coming in as another option for Benjamin Sesko at number 9? There is no other place for him to play. And that's the problem we've got right now with Joshua Zirkzee, because he isn't going to feature. I don't know what games he's going to come into. And then if he does come in ahead of Benjamin Sesko, you've then got the same Premier League matches and lack of to then start asking Ruben Amorim questions. Well, why aren't you playing your £73 million man that you spent the majority of the back end of the summer trying to get and fight Newcastle for tooth and nail? Do you know what I mean? This is where we're at right now, and these are the questions that are going to be asked. But alongside that, Juventus have come forward again, and reports from Italy saying that he will be a target once again for Juventus to replace Dusan Vlahovic when the January transfer window opens. There is a lot of questions being asked about certain Manchester United players' futures going into this window coming up, and it's kind of uncomfortable, I think, for Ruben Amorim in the position that he's actually in at the moment to deal with this, because there is no way that he can keep every single one of these players happy at Manchester United, and Joshua Zirkzee, I think, will be another one that falls by the wayside. Again, another player that was brought in that is a good player that's got the right attitude, but a player we didn't need. A player in a position that I don't know what Ten Hag and his merry men were thinking of when they brought him in. I like Joshua Zirkzee. I really do. I think he can actually do a job for Manchester United, but you can only do a job if you're playing consistently. And what Manchester United need right now is consistent performances from every single player in this side. But if you've got no chance of getting in, and this is probably how a lot of the players are looking at it from the fringes of Manchester United squad right now, and it's probably why Ruben Amorim wanted to cut this squad size down, just to make it easy for him to select players and pick from a smaller pool. This, I think, is a big problem for Manchester United, because Joshua Zirkzee or Benjamin Sesko, that's the question. Which way do you go? And when you just spent so much money on a striker in Benjamin Sesko, who's 22 and is fit and raring to go and constantly available, it's going to have to be him. When Sesko isn't playing, Ruben's trying to squeeze in all of his number 10s. And this is where I thought we might see Joshua Zirkzee creep in. I'm surprised that Manchester United didn't move Joshua Zirkzee on in a way because of this scenario, not having European football and so many 10s, and then United going out and buying Benjamin Sesko, who is going to start playing more regularly. I'm not trying to make anything out of this and try and say that there is a major problem here, but I can see something coming up where United might just have to say to Joshua Zirkzee, you're going to have to go on loan if you want to play football, because he's not going to get in ahead of Sesko, in my opinion. And yeah, we could all go back to that Burnley game a couple of weeks ago where Joshua Zirkzee came on the pitch ahead of Benjamin Sesko. That apparently was part of the plan anyway, and because of Mason Mount's injury, that's what happened. Sorry, because of Cunha's injury, that's what happened a bit earlier in the game. I just don't know where he fits, and that's what I'm looking at today. And the story of him going to Juventus and him being a top target for Juventus is off the back of this and not having game time, and then I feel trying to take advantage of Manchester United, because the player's going to start getting onto Ruben Amorim. Let's not forget, Joshua Zirkzee was part of the Holland squad before the start of this season, before his injuries and everything else, with Ronald Koeman. He wants to get back in there. If he's not playing, again, it's another one on the list of players that you start to look at and say, well, if he's not getting game time, he's got no chance whatsoever of featuring in the international fold or getting anywhere near that Dutch squad for the World Cup. Just like Kobbie Mainoo, for instance, with England and Thomas Tuchel. All of these players knocking on the door. You've only got 3 international breaks. One of them's just gone. 2 more before the January transfer window, and then 1 international break in spring. And that, I think, is where a lot of players will be targeting moving away from Manchester United if they're not getting game time. That, I think, is the biggest issue that he's got right now. Can anybody see, or has anybody got an angle here for Joshua Zirkzee to fit into this Man United side? Where does he play with the amount of games that we've got? I'm intrigued to see where you're at and what you think in the comment section, in the live comment section. And, of course, if you're catching up later on and watching after just waking up this Saturday morning, a bit of a lie-in maybe, perhaps, get your thoughts into the comment section, everybody. Where does Joshua Zirkzee fit at Manchester United? I can see why the stories around Juventus are there. I can see why everybody might be talking that he probably is the first out of the door in United's forward department right now. And I kind of like the idea of Joshua Zirkzee staying in the summer. Another option for Manchester United, maybe as a number 9 for Manchester United. But I didn't think United would be out of the Carabao Cup before it even started. And then I probably took for granted the fact that at this stage of the season, and this is just me talking personally now, at this stage of the season, there isn't many games. There really isn't. International football gets right in the way of the fixture list. And like we've said, it's 4 games now before the next international break. Then we've got a break again. And then it's another 4 games in between that for Manchester United. And then the next international break is finished and we're into the Christmas period through November and December into the January transfer window. That's it. So I don't see Joshua Zirkzee having a chance to impress Ronald Koeman at all in a Manchester United shirt. He was very and ahhing about him when he was playing for Manchester United. He wasn't convinced when he went on international duty. And I remember him talking about him. I remember talking about what he's got to do and how he's got to improve. And then Joshua Zirkzee just got forgotten about. He got, I think, pushed aside at Manchester United, in and out of the side. He had the incident at Newcastle under Ruben Amorim where he was booed off by the United faithful. And it looked like his career was completely going down the pan. He's fought his way back and he was coming back into form, and then he got an injury. And then obviously Manchester United start planning for the summer through the last few months of last season without Joshua Zirkzee in their minds. And then I just don't think we've prepared ourselves for this scenario where Man United just haven't got enough games. which does take us on to the next subject again, and these so-called friendlies that I didn't really think much of. I seen the story yesterday, but Manchester United are seriously planning this out now, because when you think about it, players have to play. And if United can make money through not being in other competitions, this club is going to do it. I don't like the idea. I said it last night. I don't like it. But we'll get your thoughts on that in a moment again anyway. But give me your comments on Joshua Zirkzee and where you feel he fits in at Manchester United. That's the one that we're getting through this morning. Can you see a world in where he gets enough game time to feel like he can be Man United's or be a big part of Manchester United's future, in that he can play regularly enough to get into the international fold? Because that's where we're at with a lot of players now, isn't it? We're looking at this and saying, from their side of things in particular, are they thinking about the club when there's a big World Cup coming? This, by the way, always happens when there's a World Cup around or a big international tournament. You start to see players get a little bit twitchy and start to think, oh, am I actually going to be able to do enough here and get into this international form, get into the big World Cups and European Championships, Copa Americas, for instance, as well in South America. This is, I think, from the players' side, what goes through their minds, and I think that this is now becoming a problem at most clubs, because you look at the size of Premier League clubs. If you're not playing regular football in the Carabao Cup, Premier League, FA Cup, anything in European football, if you've got a big squad, you've got a problem. Because you've got to try and keep hold of certain players and promise them certain things, a la Zirkzee, a la Mainu, players like this. But for them, personally, if they're looking ahead for this particular year now, and their players' careers are short, so a manager can have a plan in his mind about what the future has got in store for that player. But is the player willing to wait? If they know that they're not going to feature, it's like telling Kobbie Mainoo and Joshua Zirkzee right now, there's a big plan for you next year, but you're going to miss the World Cup. Can the player take that? And just drop yourself into the shoes of the player for a moment with this situation. As a club and as fans, we want it all to be about Manchester United. It has to be club before country and nothing else matters. Knuckle down and get on with it. Train hard, work your way into the side. That's all good and well. But just drop yourself into a modern day player's shoes right now and think, what's he thinking? Is he thinking that I'm good for the next few years at this football club? Or is he thinking, I want to be part of that World Cup? I want to be in there. I want to be on that plane and heading out to the States as part of this biggest World Cup that there has been in bloody years. And that, I think, is the biggest problem for Manchester United right now. And balancing that is very difficult. Hi, Adam. I have always said that Zirkzee was going to end up the fall guy. We are overladen with 10s, and he is the last in the pecking order. He is not a 9, a lack of games. He will be gone in January, straight out there from Mr. Dacia Sandero on Joshua Zirkzee. Graham says there will always be speculation around Zirkzee because of his agents. Yeah, agents will always play a part on every single player, but they only come around when they're not playing games. And if there's a problem with their playoff, you start to hear from the agent. So I think it's more about what's happening with the player, and then you can look at the agent side of things, because they will take advantage of every single situation and outcome from the player and his club and how much game time he's getting, and then they will actually start probing and making things happen. I guarantee you Joshua Zirkzee's agent is just doing exactly the same thing as what Kobbie Mainoo's is now. They're talking about the future of the player. They're talking to the player. They care nothing about the football club. All they care about is their client, and that's their job. Fair enough. But it doesn't help Ruben Amorim. It doesn't help any other manager that's having to deal with unsettled players because they're not playing football. At the end of the day, the players need to play. Their life is to play football. Everything around them and their short career, like we said, in terms of the money they're getting. I know it's a lot, but they don't get a lot for long, and then it's done. It's over. Into the mid-30s, game over for these players, a lot of them. And they're trying to get as much as they possibly can. Players going out for their own brands and their own personal brand and image in the World Cup is massive. And that's what people will be telling Kobbie Mainoo, for instance, right now. I don't know about Joshua Zirkzee again, but we know who actually runs Kobbie Mainoo. We know the agency. We know what they're like. Joshua Zirkzee will probably be no different from that side of things. They're just going to keep on probing and pushing. And we will get to a point where they force a move. They unsettle the player. It's a problem for Ruben Amorim. Ruben is very strict in how he deals with things, and you might get another isolation player. I hope that isn't the case with Joshua Zirkzee, because I really think he has got something. I just don't think he's the right player for Man United at this time. And again, it was a ridiculous transfer. It was another Rasmus Højlund. Why are we buying these players? Why are we spending £100 million on Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund when they're not going to play? When they're not good enough or they don't fit into the system? Poor recruitment again, costing Manchester United problems now, later down the line. And now we're looking at ridiculous circumstances of trying to play friendlies in the Middle East because we aren't in any major European competition, because players need game time and players need to get on the pitch. I get that, but they will push that side of things as like, we need to get players on the pitch, they need to play. But really, it's just another money spinner. John Mack says, only themselves to blame, should have beat Grimsby. Zirkzee, surprised he stays. Coach and must see something, says Derek. Yeah, he might. But again, I'm sure he sees something in Mainoo. I guarantee you, when that lineup comes up against Man City tomorrow, Joshua Zirkzee and Kobbie Mainoo are probably not in it. That's just how I feel right now. Ant says, I hate to say it, but Zirkzee is like a Kobbie. For me, technically excellent, but too slow for the Prem, I'm afraid. Certainly in this system. Does it come down to Ruben Amorim's system then? Does it come down to not the Premier League, not the player, not the quality of the player, but what Ruben wants for him? Does he fit the system? It's like any manager going into a football club. Everything's going to change. Everything is going to be completely different for every player going in. Like Pep Guardiola got rid of his whole back four and the goalkeeper just to suit the way he wanted to play. There was nothing wrong with them players. Good players at Manchester City. Had won a title at Manchester City and had proven that they could handle it in the Premier League, but didn't fit Pep Guardiola's system. So out of the door you go. It is the same with Zirkzee when you look at it, really, because he is a real weapon of a player. He is a handful when he gets going. But where does he play? Where does he play? The only position I see Joshua Zirkzee playing in, because of the intensity of what Ruben requires in his number 10s, the way that Cunha and Mbumo and Mount have started this season, Ahmad slipping in there as well, Bruno at times in there as well. That's 5 number 10s, all ahead, in my opinion, of Joshua Zirkzee if you're looking at a starting lineup. He just isn't going to start. Is he happy being an impact bench player? That's the ultimate question at the end of the day, isn't it, for Zirkzee now? Does he want to play from the start? If he does, he moves to Juventus in January. If he's happy to stay at Manchester United, loves the club, loves the team, he's happy to be on the bench and earn his way into a side by being a bench player. Some players make a great living out of that. I'm not saying that isn't the norm. A lot of players do just live off the bench. We've had some players that have done that constantly at Manchester United and been happy to do that because they've accepted where they are. But can you accept where you are when you're not playing in any major competition and you're mid-table in the Premier League? That's what the thing is now. United don't have that aura around them anymore. They don't have that grab when it comes to players coming in and being happy to be part of a squad playing in multiple games, including Europe and all the cup competitions. United are not in anything. And if you're a bench player for 4 games in between international breaks and you're hardly getting any minutes, it's like, what's the point? That's the life of Joshua Zirkzee right now leading up to January. So where do you think his head is going? He's not going to play enough because there isn't enough games. And his head's going to be turned and he's going to be going, I need to play football. Like, I love being at Manchester United and I like the fact that we have to compete for our places on the pitch. I think he's got a great attitude from what I've seen and what I've heard. But at the end of the day, if you're not playing because the team is not in any other cup competition apart from the Premier League, then you will have to make a move away. And his agents, like Graham said, and like we've seen before with Kobbie Mainoo, these players and these modern day players, these younger players in particular, if they get forgotten about early doors, then their careers could just completely drift away. So they're coming down hard on the club. They're coming down hard on Ruben Amorim. Where is the game time? They're getting into the players' heads. And they will be the ones that make the decision in the end. They will be the ones that force these players out of football clubs. And United have got no defence. And Ruben cannot really argue with that. I could see a situation developing for both Joshua Zirkzee and for Kobbie Mainoo heading into this January transfer window. I really can. And I don't want it to be. I like both of these players. But the team has to come first, and it's Ruben Amorim comes first. And that, I think, is where these players will end up making the decisions. You see in December, and I said this last night, wait for all the stories and potential leaks coming out about certain players when December hits. The internationals are finished, and there's more games, yes, we might be able to stretch it out through that December period and get some players game time. But will it be enough? That's the thing. Can you get through this next 3 months now, be September through November, when these international breaks are coming, and you're just sat there doing nothing? That's the hard bit. Lee Cape Town says, morning Adam, off topic, can you please talk to OK Jerseys to start delivering to South Africa or outside the UK market as well? They will kill it. I think they do, mate. I think they do, to be honest. I will ask though. Yes, another one of the retro kits, not retro actually, one of the new design stuff, like special kits I've got on today from OK Jerseys. QR code on the screen, link in the description as well. Grab yourself a bargain now. Use promo code Adam to get an extra 8% off as well. That should bring you around about 13 quid for a Man United shirt or another shirt from a European club, or in fact all the way over to the MLS, the Japanese League and the Saudi Pro League if you wanted. All there on the site. Go check it out, everybody. Let's see what else we've got in here. Get some more comments in before we do move on. Gary says, I think we're all talking to Jin. There's good conversations going on with Ginger. It looks like he's got something. I think we need a good team amongst the players in the squad. In my opinion, it's the manager who is holding the team back with his tactics and team formation. This again, like we have got a special show coming up around about 2:30 today, everybody, looking ahead towards the derby. So an extra live show where we're going to be bringing up the graphics and the team and our preferred 11s and things like this, and go through all the different setups that we can go through. So let's looking at that there, Ruben Amorim, just off the back of this, if he wins tomorrow, Ruben Amorim's in a position then where he's like, well, have won back-to-back games. Man United are comfortably in the top 6. The conversations about Ruben being the problem fall away. And then, obviously, the problems that we just talked about there, the Kobbie Mainoo, the Joshua Zirkzees, if United are winning, it doesn't matter. That's another thing on top of what we just spoke about there. The fact that United are not winning makes it even more difficult to manage a squad. If we are winning, then no one can really argue with certain selections that Ruben Amorim makes. No one can really argue with the decisions he's making in-game, who's getting on, who's not getting on. He has to start winning. So what Gary says there isn't completely correct, I don't think, in my opinion, but he does have a point. You're only going to blame the manager if you're losing games because you've got players that are not featuring. But then again, if he starts winning, and obviously these players are not playing or getting, we're not getting the best out of them, then that conversation is null and void because it's all about what happens on the pitch. It's all about the W. Getting that win is the most important thing for Manchester United. And if we're winning, of everything we've spoken about on this show is null and void, done, doesn't count. It can't do because you cannot question a winning side. It's as simple as that. Nobody can. And not even a player. But the problem United have had over the last 5 years, it's been so inconsistent that every single player and his agent thinks that he can have a say and chip in with why we're doing things this way. It's wrong. I'm being ill-treated. I've not had the chance. This player's getting more game time. Bruno Fernandes, for instance, plays every single game, but United are getting no better. All of that conversation comes right to the fore and everybody's talking about it. But if United are winning games, then nobody can say anything. The problem is we just don't win games, and that's why we are talking the way we're talking. And it shows you, it's proof, isn't it? In like the shows that we have done, the subjects that we're talking about. We're talking about unsettled players. We're talking about players that feel like they should be playing ahead of other players on the pitch that are failing. And they are failing, Manchester United. We know this. Yes, it's the early stage of the season right now, but if this next 6 games goes completely Pete Tong for Ruben Amorim, he's got nowhere to hide. He's got absolutely nowhere to hide because he's got players there that might do something different for him on the bench. He's got players, don't forget, like in all of this, you have got Harry Maguire sat on the bench, you've got Aidan Heavens sat on the bench, you'll have Leach sat back on the bench soon, you've got Manuel Ugarte and Kobbie Mainoo on the bench, Joshua Zirkzee also on the bench. These players are going to be asking the question. And before long, he's going to have a real, on paper, quality side and quality squad that are just not playing. And that, if it isn't going the right way, will be Ruben Amorim's undoing. I feel. And that, I think, is the hardest part for Ruben right now. He's got no defence for himself, is what I'm saying. Okay, let's get into a few other topics, and I'm going to come back into the comment section as well. In terms of Manchester United, by the way, Andre Onana, in the story for him, Andre Onana, Samuel Luckhurst reporting. Yes, Samuel Luckhurst is back. Manchester United match day weekend is coming. This is a report from him. Manchester United players are relieved to have avoided the nonsense of a four-man goalkeeping department following the departure of Andre Onana. Players felt it would have been a problem if Onana had not secured a move following Sen Laman's arrival. You take that story as far as you want. I mean, from the outside, you could have said that anyway. I don't think any Man United source needs to come out and tell us that, to be honest. I really don't care. It's the obvious for me. Now, one thing that is staggering for me with the Andre Onana situation is the money that he's on. He's the highest paid player in Trabzonspor's history, and he's actually earning more money than he is at Manchester United. That's your headline. Nothing else. There is nothing else to talk about when it comes to Andre Onana. That, for me, is a nothing story. Of course, nobody wants an inflated squad, like we've just said, when you've got so many games to play. Man United going into this period, you've got the Joshua Zirkzee situation, the Kobbie Mainoo, and everything else we just spoke about, alongside 4 goalkeepers trying to get into Man United's side. It would have been ridiculous, and anybody could see it from the outside. So, really, I'm not really bothered about that story. I think it was common sense anyway. Manchester United are looking into the young African market again. Obviously, we know the players like Sekou Kone we brought in a couple of summers back from Guiders FC. Manchester United are weighing up a move for Gambian wonder kid Musa Ann. Scouts from the club have been monitoring the 17-year-old centre-back in action for Samga FC, a club well known for producing young talent. Again, just to keep you up to date with all the news going around, Manchester United doing the work again through the academy side of things in making things move and keep things moving along there. Again, no, it's only going to come, I think, anything like this will come to fruition with United are actually doing well and we're actually competing in competitions. There is so much going on in terms of behind-the-scenes stuff at Manchester United right now that seems to be working well, that falls into complete insignificance when it comes to Manchester United and performing and winning games. That's the problem. I love talking about all of this. There's another story here now. Manchester United are expected to join the bidding for Ajax centre-back Aaron Bowman, touted as the next Virgil van Dijk. All of these are great and I love it. Fantastic. But in the season, right now, when you're looking at results, it doesn't really matter to anybody, does it? And you know me, I'm all over the academy. I'm not going to try and kid you and say that this club is moving in the right direction when we're not getting the results in the Premier League. All we care about right now is Man City and Manchester United beating them in the derby tomorrow. That's it. But there is good work going on. There is a lot happening at Manchester United right now behind the scenes, and we are in a very, very healthy position. And I just want to make a point of saying that. If he's really that good, let's win the bidding war, a lot of people are saying on this kid. Again, a couple of young players coming through there that I think are worth, are probably worth talking about, but not quite yet. When you look at Manchester United behind the scenes and the work that they're doing, it is for the future of this football club, and I think it is important. Of course, it's important, and I love the fact that we've got a structure. But every single comment that I've read, like anyone who's having an issue with Ruben Amorim, for instance, right now, and talking about the here and now, it is all about Ruben getting it right with this first team. Otherwise, all of that just gets forgotten about as well. Nothing comes through. No player prospects make it, I don't think anyway, because what we've seen before is a struggling Man United side, and then young academy players brought through and thrown in at the deep end when they're not ready. And that has been clear as day throughout every single Manchester United season going forward since Sir Alex Ferguson left. We've seen it with so many academy players. If the team is not doing well, the young academy players don't end up doing well. through Manchester United. And I think that's important to remember. So it does sort of come into the subjects that we're talking about right now. But again, it's for later down the line. If you've got a thriving first team and it's doing well on the pitch, then the academy will thrive as well, and the players will come through into a better environment and they will succeed. Right now, I'm looking at them players and I'm just hoping that we get it right on the pitch. I'm hoping that Manchester United can actually start turning out performances and getting results in the Premier League and moving up. And then there's somewhere for these players to go. I mean, come on, look at all of the academy players coming through Manchester United throughout the last 10 years. Have any of them really succeeded? Have any of them managed it? They just haven't, have they? No one's really gone on to a point that's a first team guaranteed player for Manchester United's academy in the first team. And that's the point in all of this. Get it right on the pitch. All right, let's get a few more comments in on everything. Ruben Amorim's job is to do his best for Manchester United. He cannot and must not compromise that task by concerning himself, worrying about the international prospects of any individual player. No, you're dead right about that, Peter. But that, again, is why I said just put yourself in the player's shoes and what the agents might do and how difficult they're going to make it for Ruben Amorim. That's the point. So you make a valid comment there. Thank you for that, mate. It is all about now. I said it a moment ago, we don't care about internationals. I couldn't give a toss about who's playing for who. I want them back fit and I want them in a United shirt winning games. But if they're coming back from international duty or stuck at Carrington because they're not on international duty and they're coming back into a Manchester United team that's not playing any games because we're not in any other competition apart from the Premier League, and he's handpicking his best team, like you said, Peter, which he has to do to get the best out of Man United, then players are going to kick up a stink and it's not going to happen. Gary says, did you see someone say we are winning 5-1? You have to say a giddy United fan is a wonderful thing. No, we're not winning 5-1 tomorrow. I'm taking a scrappy 1-0 win or anything if we can. I'll go through all of the predictions and what I think the scores are going to be later on in that special show at 2:30. So make sure that you are there for that one, everybody. People worry too much about things that haven't even happened yet. Which one, Stu? Tell me, mate. Let's see. Player rotation is important to keep them happy. Want to see Sesko starting. Player rotation is difficult when you don't have enough games to do it in. Again, the story regarding the Middle East friendlies for Manchester United. This is actually a real thing now. I've done some more reading into it last night after we mentioned it in the show yesterday. Manchester United are looking to utilise 11 midweek periods when they've got no game this season and organise several different trips to play friendlies in them games. Madness. Absolute madness. So what you get is, so we'll play, say for instance, the example of this is Manchester United play, it's Sunderland at home. The last game of this block of games right now. So Sunderland at home, and then it's international break. So Manchester United could indeed, obviously, then... So let me get this right, actually. No, I've got that completely wrong, actually, because you've got the international break, and unless United wanted to play a friendly with a leftover squad from the internationals, which you're never going to know, that's not going to happen. So what they are looking at is the fixtures coming up through the games now. So what we've got right here is City today, then no game until Chelsea the following Saturday, and then they've got no game until Brentford the next Saturday. Manchester United are thinking of flying out in between them games to the Middle East, and where teams are playing in the Champions League and teams are playing in the Carabao Cup, for instance, Manchester United will be off somewhere in a sunny climate playing God knows who in a friendly, you could say meaningless friendly, but it does bring in the talk of what we were saying before. If we need to get game time for players, this will be the narrative that's driven down this. Players need games. United have got a big squad. Joshua Zirkzee, Kobbie Mainoo, Manuel Ugarte, players like this need to play football. They're not going to play in the Premier League. We're going to have a second squad, basically. We're going to have a second team United that are playing friendlies by the looks of it. Because I cannot see Manchester United risking all of the first team players in these games. Going to play a friendly in between Premier League games and then the potential injury situation there. Like, your bread and butter is the Premier League, Ruben wanted time to train these players. He said that we're not ready for European football. The club have got other ideas, and now they're looking to raise money, but say that it's just so we can actually get players game time in between the Premier League games because there isn't enough games. It's our fault that there isn't enough games. That's what I look at. That's how I look at it anyway. It's our fault because we were crap last season, so deal with it. But hey, look, let's get some more comments in. Everybody, get talking. Haaland's going to bully Altai, says Ginge. Ginge is just a not happy man this morning again. Tim says, all they care about is money behind the scenes. No wonder this club has gone to the dogs. Simon also says, they're looking at the same date as the Champions League game midweek. Yeah, look, you tell me what you think about it. Do you think it's a good idea? I don't really. Look, the plan is there, and no matter what date it is, I still think it's a stupid idea. I just don't think they're willing to accept how bad they were, and they need to be still earning money through different games. I don't like it. I really don't. Adam, what do Manchester United need to do to improve on and off the pitch? And I am not just talking about transfers. What do we need to do to improve on and off the pitch? Well, it comes around to players at the football club that are just not good enough for starters. That is what Man United have done. At the moment, they're doing the right things. They are. The big question will come, Wazim, with the manager. And if or not, Ruben Amorim is good enough. I think that will be the next step. They've got a structure in place, what they needed to do. They're bringing players in. That's are the right players for Manchester United, in my opinion. And they're getting rid of the players that are not good enough. That's step one. Step two is the right manager with this. Hopefully that does turn out to be Ruben. And then you move on from there, and your transfer windows are structured through what we've just done in the last window by bringing players in that are going to play, that are for first 11, that are better than what we've got. That is most important. There's no point in bringing a player in unless it's a young prospect at a decent deal, decent price. No point in bringing that type of player in. The players you're bringing in the transfer window have to be players that are better than what you've got. Otherwise, you're just going to stand still. And United have done this for years in transfer windows, and have stood still and started to drop. So that's basically what Manchester United need to do. United will start well and then lose their way. Bruno penalty and lose 2-1 at press conference. They played well but unable to convert chances. We go again. Oh, don't say that, Nadeem. I get that though. United do have to start putting chances away. That's where we're struggling. That's where we lose games. That's why we don't pick up the points. Our chance conversion rate is ridiculous. Our XG is good. It's right up there like we've talked about many a times. Through the last couple of weeks, in fact, on international duty, a lot of stats has come up for the first 3 games. United lead the way in every single attacking stat, apart from scoring the bleeding goals. So someone's going to start putting the ball in the back of the net. The fact we're topping the stats in most categories is promising. Goals will bring the points we need once we start to click. Jeffrey pretty much just jumping onto what I said there, actually, then. Let's get some more. As long as the travelling doesn't affect the squad, the friendlies for cash is a good idea, says Graham. I wonder how much money they would make. That would be an interesting conversation, wouldn't it? That'll be another debate, won't it? Manchester United earning more than the clubs playing in domestic trophies and European trophies because they're playing friendlies instead. Manchester United set a new trend of how to earn money as a football club. It's not a 38-game league anymore. It's now a 45 with another 7 friendlies thrown in the mix as well. We are the trailblazers, aren't we? We do set the standards and we do things a lot of the time before other football clubs. But yeah, money. United need it, and United will do anything, it would seem, to get their hands on it. I mean, let's get me wrong. Like, they're going to be travelling in business and first class. That's not really going to affect them that much. I just worry that someone might get injured and then everything will just come down media-wise on top of it. Adam, what about all these friendlies that raise about 25 million? That goes towards a Belabor in January. Look, Andy, yeah, I'm just asking people to give their opinions on it. Look, I get the money side of it. I get why people would think it's a good idea. And if it's going to help Manchester United, yes. At the moment, I don't know if it is because it's not happened. So I can get the negative comments. I can get the positive comments behind it. A few people now have said it's actually a good idea. I'm just one of them old school people that's just said, just suck it up and and take what's coming to you. You weren't good enough, but there's always a way out of it, it would seem right now. United don't have enough money, but we still buy players. United can't attract players because we're not in Europe. We still attract players. United's not going to earn any money now because we're not getting European football and we're not in any domestic cups. We're still going to get games because we're going to play friendlies now and earn more money than what you what you might get from the Champions League. Football has gone on a complete mad one, hasn't it? But look, it keeps on evolving. This might be a thing now that many clubs copy from Man United. The money might be lucrative. If you're going over to Saudi, for instance, then United could earn a lot of money from this. It would be because they would jump at the opportunity to show that they are good enough to play alongside the likes of Manchester United. And United going over there would be massive. Look what we earned from that little tour, playing 2 games in Asia after the season finished. United earned around about 8 million. If you do 4 or 5 of them throughout the season and have a couple of games, or 1 game 1 week and then another game, so in between, so maybe in a month you play 2 friendlies, say for instance 2 Champions League or European weeks, Man United fly out to wherever and they manage to bring in 15 million. You do that what, 4 times in a season, then in 4 different months while the Champions League is on, then you're really looking at bringing in probably just as much as what you did while you were challenging in the Europa League last season. So the money side of it, I get it. I really do. And if it does bring you another player in, and let's not forget, that will be pure profit for Manchester United on top of everything else. And it is a way of really monetising the brand of what Manchester United is as well. So I get it. I do. I think that is something that the club will look into, because they are now running like a proper business, and we've got people there that know how to make money and not blow it. If you market it right and you get it right, then you could earn yourself an extra 30-40 million a season by doing these friendly games. It's going to make people not want to actually compete and just to have the chance to actually, but it's only United that will be able to fetch that type of money. So it's not as lucrative to other football clubs, because the brand and the business of Manchester United, that's what we're talking about here. That's what I think will help Manchester United in thinking about this. The money is what will win day on this one, if anything. Plus the end of the season friendlies, remember them? Yep, true. I said that then just in the Asia Tour there. So you think about it, Manchester United earned approximately 15 million from the Asia Tour and that Premier League series in America in pre-season. If you started to squeeze them games in between, in a 4 or 5 month period of the season when you're not playing European football, Manchester United could earn themselves a good chunk of change there to go towards transfers, and people might like the idea of that. And players actually getting friendlies and getting game time. I don't know if that's going to appease them, because they're then not playing in the Premier League the weekend after. Look, there's all sorts of different ways you could look at it to big it up or to bring it down, but money talks at the end of the day, and money will be the winning factor in it, I feel. Let's get a few more comments in on this. Zirkzee has the best football brain in our squad, says Story. Honestly, it's not a great deal difference to the warm weather training we've always done in the UAE. A lot of clubs do that warm weather training. If you organise it right and get some games in there, maybe yes. Forget the money. Football should be about the wins, the joy and excitement. Feeling is what it is about. Unfortunately, Donald, we cannot say that anymore. Like, we want to say it and we want to believe it, but the reality tells us otherwise. Money is the winner every single time in football. We talked about it with the players and what they want and what their agents are trying to drag out of football clubs. We talked about Manchester United in trying to raise extra money through playing more games. And look, if you say, for instance, Manchester United squad would normally be going into a season, you've got a minimum, 10 European games. If you're in the Europa League or if you're in the Champions League, you've got 8 games in that league, guaranteed. I'm pretty certain Man United would qualify in either of them competitions in the top 20 odd or whatever it is to get at least a playoff game. So you guarantee 10 European games every season. If United throw in 5 games, there's no reason why, 5 friendly games that is, there's no reason why Manchester United shouldn't be able to rotate a squad around that and just use the same format as what you would. Same preparation, travelling out on a certain date, organised friendlies. Look, I'm sort of like talking myself into it in terms of how many games players have got to play, because a lot of people will say, why are you trying to make the players play more games? Well, it's only if they're not playing that other 10 to 12 games with the Carabao Cup, Champions League. Obviously, when the FA Cup kicks in, it'll be a different story come the turn of the year. So let's see how this one develops. Let's see if they do try and push this forward, and if United try and squeeze in some more games in there anyway. But look, that pretty much is you completely up to date this morning, everybody. Saturday, the 13th of September. Absolutely brilliant that the football is back. Cannot wait to get going. Don't forget, later on, everybody, we do have a full-on soccer Saturday. The Saturday kickoff starts this weekend. It starts this weekend. It starts today. We are live at 3 o'clock. 10 to 3, we're kicking things off. All of the 3 o'clock kickoffs. The Saturday kickoff, it's like your own soccer Saturday here on Football Talks when we move across there later. Don't forget as well, at 2:30 today, 2:30 England time, here on FUTV, we have our Derby build-up game. We're going to be going through all the teams, get the graphics on the screen, and do everything looking towards the Derby, what we would do, how we would actually play it. We'll get through all of that. And then, of course, we are obviously into the Derby itself tomorrow. So, jam-packed weekend, everybody. Quickly, before we finish off, another super chat there from Lee Cape Town. Honestly, I've never had a problem with making a bit of money, and hard work has never killed anyone in any case. So, I say go for our club needs in any case. So, basically, just go out and try and earn the money, mate. Please pop a like on the video, everybody, and make sure that you do hit that subscribe button as well. We are 90 subscribers away from 100,000 subscribers here on Forever United TV. It is a mad one. It really is. But we keep on pushing, and we're not stopping there, everybody. We've got loads of different content coming up. Thank you again for your support. Hit the subscribe button, bell notification next to it, so you're up to date with all of the news and everything coming out content-wise. And, of course, make sure that you pop a like on there as well. Get your comments in on all of them subjects today, and I will see you all later on. Don't forget, around about 2:30, 2:30, we're back.